Hello, everyone, and welcome again to this episode of the Real Wealth Solutions podcast. I am Darren Light, along with my awesome co-host, Greg Scully. Greg, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing well. I got my emergency.
Nice. Build up the old immunity system.
Yep.
Today we are being joined by Kevin Tipton and Cohl Morgan, both with SVN Wood Properties, commercial brokers out of Knoxville, Tennessee. They have several other offices throughout the country. Gentlemen, we appreciate you joining in this morning. And if you wouldn't mind, Kevin, maybe starting with a little intro about yourself, and then we'll let Cohl follow up.
Sure. Thank you for having us, Darren and Greg. We greatly appreciate it. Kevin Tipton, Knoxville, Tennessee, pretty much born and raised in Knoxville. Got into real estate back in May of 2000. The gentleman that was my broker for the first 8 years of my career, he was very heavily in development and investment real estate. So that's kind of how I got into the investment side of it. So been working with investors for 20 plus years now. Been with SVN Wood Properties just over 3 years. November was my 3-year mark with them. Love it. Just love what we do.
I noticed that when you started is also when Cohl was born, I believe, May of 2000.
Okay, Greg, we don't have to go there. You can cut that part out, okay?
I was thinking that, but I wasn't going to say it. Good morning, guys. Cohl Morgan with SVN Wood Properties. I'm born and raised in Knoxville as well. I attended the University of Tennessee and graduated in 2019. I went to UT wanting to do something in real estate, but did not know what. I got an internship with SVN Wood Properties, started working on a multifamily project as an intern, got my license while still in college, and then came on full time after graduation. And since then, it has been off to the races. Kevin, as he said, has been doing this for 20 plus years, working with investors on single family and multifamily properties. And since I wanted to focus on multifamily, we felt it was a natural team and partnership. And we joined hands back in September of 2020. And since then, it's been off to the races.
Right on. So Kevin, you've been in this game a little while, through more than a few cycles. You know, coming out of the Great Recession and stuff, I imagine there was a lot more time trying to find buyers, whereas I think today you have more than enough phone calls coming in from buyers looking to find properties. So can we take this from the point of view of, you know, somebody new trying to get into this super popular multifamily game that is attracting a lot of attention. When they're just first starting to talk to commercial brokers, you know, what can somebody do to differentiate themselves, having never spoken to either one of you guys before, from other people that have also never spoken to you guys before?
Right. I would say educate as much as you possibly can before getting ready to get into the game. And of course, you know, right now with technology, you can Google videos. You can, you know, there's everything is right here at the touch of our hand. Books, but I would say educate yourself and be ready. And the first thing, you know, once you have educated yourself somewhat, you know, and also surround yourself with other investors that are already doing what you want to do. Go to meetings, network, learn about the business, and then, you know, be prepared. And when I say prepared, have your financing in place. So, you know, get with a lender, talk with hard money lenders, whatever that may be. But things are so competitive right now. You know, something hits the market, it's going to be gone within a week if the deal makes sense. And we have people coming from all over the country. You know, we're getting calls daily from California, New York, Illinois, investors coming out of everywhere, because now they don't even have to visit the property. Everything's virtual. I mean, they can do so much online, so much research, Everything's just right there. So I would just say educate yourself, financing in place, talk to as many people as you can and learn as much as you can, network. I'd say that would be the first steps I would suggest.
If someone has a credibility book or a one-page bio that basically, whether they have experience or not, even if it's a little bit of experience, but it outlines their professional background, exact asset they're looking for, maybe price per door that they're looking for, their business plan, their exit plan, maybe a couple of advisors with some experience at the bottom of their page, and they were to email that to you either with a cold email or after a call, would that help set them apart? And or if I know Cole's done 5 deals with you and I'm looking to get into the Tennessee market and I call you up and say, Kevin, Cole gave me your name and number, will that give me a leg up as well in regards to credibility?
Yes, I would say so. I mean, if someone that I have done business with and you call me, as a reference person, that would give credibility to me. Yes. And also, like you mentioned, the bio, that's someone actually putting time and effort into saying, okay, look, I'm legit. Of course we still, you don't know till you get to the closing table, but that's going to show credibility to me.
I would add also know the market that you want to be in. We are getting inundated with calls from out of town investors, and we can differentiate between the investors that know Knoxville, know the market, between the ones who don't. So if you're local, let us know that, because a lot of sellers find value in local buyers. If the seller is local, and if you're not local, do your research on the market.
So if you're new, have never transacted, maybe don't have much on your REO, it sounds like education's ideal. Have some of the other aspects of the buying process at least somewhat figured out. Go talk to lenders. It's hard to get like a proof of a proof of funds. That's not exactly it, but a lending pre-approval for commercial doesn't really exist as far as I know. But if you can establish that at least some lenders are familiar with you, have maybe pre-vetted you, they've looked at your PFS and SREO, so you have some avenue in for lending that can help you differentiate, and then just showing strong knowledge of the market. What about doing tours? So sometimes you have these called offers or scheduled tour dates. Does flying in, showing up, improve, maybe not the chances, but does that help with the credibility factor?
Absolutely. If you are willing to drop what you are doing to come tour property that has just hit the market or off market, whatever the case may be, if you're willing to drop what you are doing, travel, spend time on site with us, then that absolutely you're putting a face to your name, showing up, and that makes a huge difference in my opinion.
Yeah, and not only that, as speaking from the investor side of it, I've done that, hop on a plane and know the market. And if nothing else, if you're serious about that market, you're going to see a building, you're going to put it into the context of the market, spend an extra day, spend the night, do some driving for dollars, get on apartments.com, go check out the comps. I mean, you can learn a ton about a market in 1 or 2 days just by going and driving around. If possible, if you guys are available, sometimes you can get a little market tour with the broker. It's like, yeah, we can have lunch and go drive around, and I can show you what North Knoxville looks like, and that's where the new stadium's going, and things like that. So, getting out of your chair and out from behind the computer.
I think one thing too, along those same lines, is I tell new investors this is if you are not in your market and you have to fly there, whether you're interested interested in the deal that they're throwing you now or not, get on the plane, go do a tour to build up a rapport with that broker to start creating a relationship. Even if you know in your mind you're not going to offer on that property. Now, having that might be it's a waste of time, but they've got to start somewhere to build a relationship. And generally on a tour, you're going to have more than one group along anyway, hopefully. But that's what I tell them. I've not had to do that myself because pretty much everything we've done is here, but I think there's value in that.
What about I don't want to say things you shouldn't do, but how do you? I don't want to put you guys on the spot. We can edit this out if you don't like the way it goes. How do you vet the tire kickers from the people that you think are going to actually be able to transact?
We can tell by the questions that potential buyers ask and their communication, just how they communicate with us, the questions they ask. We can differentiate those that are serious and those that are not. There's not really a set rule to that, but Kevin and I will see an email come through with a list of questions and we'll say, oh, those are really good questions. And then we'll see another one come through that you can tell that it's mediocre. So that's how I differentiate tire kickers versus actual buyers.
Yeah, because I can imagine do you have any deals in Knoxville? Please send me everything that is at least an 8 cap is going to get a much different reaction than I'm looking for, 80s to 90s B-class stuff on slab with no amenities, workforce housing in a median income neighborhood of, $65,000 or more.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So I need to change my email
Yeah.
introduction. But that may not seem as obvious to somebody just getting started, and that goes back to educating yourself on what you're looking for, what the market might even have available, and it's also kind of a chicken egg because I've been there. I mean, I've been the one that's like, I have to pick up my phone and figure out how to start talking to these guys and gals. So it's I don't want it to be an insurmountable prospect, but at some point you just got to get started.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, those first couple conversations can be a little bit awkward.
And I want to say this too, Greg and Darren and Cohl. If we have someone that reaches out to us and we can tell that they're new to the game, we're going to do what we can to try to help and walk them through and help them learn. I mean, I didn't have a clue about real estate until I got into real estate. So we will say, let's grab coffee. If you'd like to come to our office for lunch one day, let's just sit down and talk about what you're looking to get into. So, because sometimes they don't really know, do they want to do single family portfolios? Do they want to do, quadplexes and above? They might know how much they can afford, but not exactly what they want to do. So we just try to sit down with them, talk to them, have that face-to-face, build a relationship. This business is about relationships. Yeah. This is, I love.
Oh, we love you too, Kevin.
Yeah, we appreciate that. We can finish this thought form. Yeah, it is about relationships, and it is about building your knowledge base. Just getting onto, Cohl and Kevin's buyers list, you don't necessarily have to have a conversation with them about every single property that comes on the market. They can send it to you. You can do initial underwriting, get back with them, talk about it a little bit more, and further filter, what your priority might be. Because, Cohl, just because I'm a buyer from you today doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to transact everything with you.
Right.
You need as much of a pipeline of potential investors as we need a pipeline of deals from brokers. So as much as, you're as interested in fostering relationships as everybody else is.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but, so don't be, so following through is hugely important. You don't be the one and done type person. And if you're serious about it, like, hey, Cole, have that conversation, talk about what you're interested in, get on your distribution list.
Right.
And then when you see something, analyze and get back with Cole. Hey, I like this 24 unit, up in Halls. But it's not going to work for me, and here's why. And that will help you
Yes.
further filter this person's buying criteria. So it's not, you're not gonna, very rarely you're gonna get that call with Cole. He's gonna send you a deal and it's like, light, the clouds part, and you're going under contract and you close in 60 days. Unfortunately, It doesn't work like that. Be prepared to put some effort into it.
Right. What I have been seeing recently is new buyers that we talk to setting up a monthly call with us just to ask us what we're seeing in the market, deals we're working on, talking about how COVID is changing, because this buyer may be in New York and they want to follow up with how the Knoxville market is handling COVID. So we've seen that recently. And then we've also, and you touched on this, when we do send deals out, we have a list of buyers that we can almost always guarantee will respond to our emails, and they will tell us why the deal works or why it doesn't work, and then provide their underwriting or their explanation of what they don't like about the deal. And that's hugely important to us and helpful, because that helps us send you properties that we think would work for you if we know why other properties don't work. Kind of helps narrow down our email distributions to you. So I think rather than calling one time and talking to us once, I think setting up a monthly call, we enjoy doing that, and that's relationship building, as Kevin touched on. That's hugely important to us, is building relationships.
That's a serious buyer right there if you're having a monthly call with them. Greg, you may have to pay attention to let Kevin back in. We can edit that out as well. So I want to finish what I think may have been Kevin's thoughts, but I think it speaks to not just SVN Wood Properties, but to be honest with you, more about Cole and Kevin and whoever else may be in your office. I only know you guys out of that office and knew Kevin before you came along. It shows what type of people you are, that you want to go sit down with a new investor, and instead of, especially if they're local, which you can do, or if someone flies in, you're truly adding value to them, and that's going to come back around in some shape, form, or fashion later on. It may not be in the form of money. It can be whatever. And Greg and I are huge believers in what that looks like, and just the whole relationship aspect of it. I tell people, I was having a conversation a couple of weeks ago with an old friend of mine, or someone that I had known for a year or two through the business and just met in person finally. Like most of the people I keep in touch with now, I've met them in the last 3 years. There may be a couple people that I've known my entire life that I've talked to, but the rest of it has been through this business. And now they're friends. And that's what I love about, the honest people and the good people, and who you want to share life and share business with. So
exactly,
you're doing that for people. And that's not common, especially, I just think that there's so many brokers available, just like there are agents in single family space out there. It's all about transactions with them. Mm-hmm. Without that next transaction, they're going to die because they've been able to make it.
Right.
Had that relationship business. So that leads me to another question is, do you guys actively pursue owners even though they've not come to you and said, I want to sell? What does that look like in order to strum up business and or add value to them?
We do, and just something we did a few weeks ago, we sat down and sent out flyers introducing ourselves, Kevin and I, talking about the market, some of our recent sales, and we sent those out to thousands of local property owners. And doing that, one, of course, is to get our names out there in front of these sellers, but also showing them that we're involved, in touch with the market. So that owner may get that flyer and put it down and say, I'm not selling. But in 6 months from now, they may say, I wonder, I'm ready to sell now. Who was that sent me that flyer? And then they go pull that flyer out and they've got our contact information on it. So that's one way. We also do cold calls. But sellers right now, what we found when sending those flyers is that a lot of sellers, property owners, are being inundated with phone calls from brokers, from buyers, because there's just such low inventory of property on the market. So sending flyers, getting in front of them. And another thing that we found when sending those flyers is that a lot of current owners are also buyers. And that was the most feedback we got from property owners, is like, hey, we're not looking to sell, we're looking to add more. So I think that shows you the strength of the Knoxville market. Those flyers were sent to Knoxville and surrounding county property owners. And so the biggest response we got is like, hey, we're not wanting to sell, but we're wanting to add 100 units this year.
Wow, that's impressive. Do you have a mailing business plan as far as the frequency with which you send these, just as others are trying to go direct to owners to buy?
We do. We try not to inundate and spam property owners. So we've sent these flyers once this year. We'll probably follow up again in 4 or 5 months towards quarter 3, quarter 4 of the year. Just to follow up, the market's constantly changing. When COVID hit, we got the idea to reach out to owners because our first thought was, well, some owners may be panicking and ready to sell. Ultimately, in Knoxville, that didn't happen because fortunately, Knoxville has been in a a fortunate economic bubble, and multifamily owners have done, for the most part, very well throughout COVID. So, but when the market changes, then we reach back out to property owners.
Yeah, and what I'm hearing here is these are fundamental business strategies, whether you're a broker looking for sellers or if you're an investor looking for brokers. You're being in contact. It's staying relevant with people so that when that opportunity comes along, hopefully you're the one in front of them when they make that decision. That goes back to the consistency of get with Cohl once a month or something, or send him an article that you found that is relevant to the market that he might not have seen, just so he knows that you're paying attention and are actively involved. So if those flyers get stuck to refrigerators with magnets and you don't know when that person is going to make that decision to sell, but if you haven't made any kind of an effort to be in front of them on a consistent basis, put your face to their name and get them to know you a little bit as a person, they're far less likely to give you that call. I mean, nobody's going to the Yellow Pages to find a commercial broker. They're going to have to kind of know you a little bit, I imagine.
Right. Yes. And we want to communicate well with buyers and sellers because we want them to communicate well with us. That is the biggest complaint. I saw a survey of commercial brokers is that their communication is poor. And that's probably because a lot of them are so busy, blah, blah, blah. But that is something we try to avoid, is having that. We try to avoid being criticized of poor communication by over communicating with our clients, and letting them know every detail. If we're taking a property to the market, we try to update our sellers every day of feedback that we get. If we're working with a buyer, we're following up with that buyer every day, letting them know how the transaction is moving along. So
Hey, it's Greg from Real Wealth Solutions. If you'd like to know more about our passive income opportunities, jump onto realwealth.solutions and hit that schedule a call button. We're always happy to talk about our multifamily and flip projects and to answer any questions you may have. Again, that's realwealth.solutions. We look forward to hearing from you. And now, back to the podcast. Kevin, welcome back. Did you go play frisbee or something down there on Gulf Shores, and then he's out again? So this is the beauty of this business: is you can work where you want.
The reception.
Is the Wi-Fi at the quality end?
Yeah. I told you shouldn't have rented that Motel 6 room, man. Your woman's with you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah. Well, listen, Darren, I remember a few weeks ago, you were so-called going to St. Augustine for work, if I remember correctly. Is that right?
I did work pretty hard down there.
Did you? Did you, Darren?
And
The
I
picture
also
on your Facebook page didn't look like you were working too hard.
And I also hobnobbed, which we were really good at. So,
Oh, sorry, guys.
no worries.
No, that's fine. We'll try and plug along. Let's see if we could bring you in, Kevin, just because you got more years under you than Cole's been alive. This is a patient game a little bit, the real estate. So I mean, can you talk about a little bit how things, and you can keep it specific to Knoxville because that's kind of what you know, largely, or just in general. Leaving the Great Recession, it was a much different market for buyers and sellers than it is now, and that can just lead into like, this is not a one and done type game. You got to be patient. What did things look like in 2010 compared to 2021 now?
Well, in 2010, I thought I was going to be waiting tables rather than dealing real estate. It was tough for sure. Before all of that happened, the market was just insane, as you guys probably remember. Of course, Cole was at daycare when all that happened. But no, it was crazy, and that's why, seeing the way that the market is now, and being more cautious than I was back in 2006, 2007, before everything tanked. It's kind of like, wow, I hope that doesn't happen again. But from what everyone's saying, it's not going to. Again, yes, patience. Patience will be key. If someone's getting into this, you better be prepared in today's market, whether it's Knoxville or any area. As soon as stuff's hitting the market, I mean, it's off to the races. The bidding wars begin, seems like.
Yeah, and absolutely, and that goes back to what Cole was saying. You might not have been on the call, but getting back to brokers with information as quickly as possible will help you stay in the loop. That also helps you guys too. I think there may be a tendency. I've been hesitant to do it sometimes. You look at deals and you're like, I don't see anything to this. And a lot of that is relative to any individual's investors' returns, matrix that they're trying to achieve. So some things are never going to work for me that are going to work for somebody else. And sometimes I'm hesitant to give that feedback. But I imagine you appreciate the feedback, because if all the feedback is going in one direction, then that can give you some guidance to give to the potential seller that, maybe their expectations are a little out of line to what the market's willing to give them.
How do
Any
you
thoughts on that?
that exact topic? You have a seller that's come to you and say, and they want X. And even out of the gate, you may say, well, that sounds like a stretch, but we'll start there if that's where you want. What do you do with a seller? How do you educate them, or try to, if they're stuck on a number, knowing that they've overvalued their property? What's that process look like? and are you able to convince them or educate them enough to where you can finally get it sold for
So we will underwrite the property ourselves. We will send comps. We will jump through all those hoops. We will tell them our suggested list price. And if that list price is still ridiculous, we will tell them that our opinion is that it's too high. But we, of course, we want to, typically when we want to work with this client, build that relationship with them. So we'll take it to market. And in this market, if you've not heard anything, if you've not gotten LOIs or had multiple showings in 14 days, then that's a sign that that something is not right about the listing. And so we'll give them that feedback. Hey, we've been on the market for 14 days. We've heard it's been dead silence. It's listed too high. Typically when the market speaks, sellers will listen. That's what we found. We can, as brokers, we can tell them everything, give them comps of our valuation, but when they start hearing buyers' feedbacks or no feedback at all, that really starts to move the needle with them.
Can I attribute Cole Morgan to that quote? Typically, when the market speaks, the sellers will listen.
Yes, you can.
Yeah, you can, sure.
That's wise beyond his years, man.
Hey guys, sorry I had to walk over here to get better reception. Let me share my view with you here.
Oh yeah, appreciate
Yeah.
it. We're
Hey Greg, this is a real view, Greg. I don't have that fake backdrop there. So
Hey, this podcast is about brokers, not why people will want to become a broker. No,
but I mean, it is awesome. It is awesome that you can be at the beach and work, and be at the beach and be on a podcast with your investor friends and family. So, I mean, that is one of the perks to this business. You have the flexibility, the freedom to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was going to get serious there, and I'm glad you did, because, as most of the listeners will either hear or see from this podcast, we're very casual about what we do. But yes, I'm been fortunate to travel a couple places recently, but in the future, that's what I hope to do more of. And I know Greg and Kim have the same aspirations. That's why they're renting in Tennessee, because they want to be able to go some other places and maybe live 6 months or 12, whatever that looks like. So it is very much about time freedom and a lifestyle. And for that, I'm very thankful. So we joke about it, but it's very intentional and it's true. Cole will be doing that next year, and he's only been in the business a year. So,
yeah, I think Kevin told me he was going to fly me to Hawaii.
Yeah, I've noticed that when you do take the vacations or try to get away, you just have to have the balance. Get up first thing in the morning, knock the stuff out, because it never stops.
Yeah, you're right. We just recorded another podcast, and we were joking about how there are no days off.
No days off. Yeah,
I haven't had a day off since I started real estate, which is fine, but it is what it is. It's part of it's part of this, but I enjoy it. So it's
right.
I enjoy working every day more than I enjoyed working the 5 days a week in my W-2.
Right.
Back in the day. So
and that goes back to building relationships. When you're working with clients that you have a close relationship with, that are more like friends and family, then it does not feel like work. It's enjoyable work that doesn't get old. So
let's talk about circling back a little bit. And this is something that I have had to got more intentional about, is everybody's busy. And we might offer on a deal and have an LOI go unaccepted, and that's not necessarily the end of it. And I know you guys are busy. It is always prudent to just drop into your calendar in a couple of weeks. Like if somebody says, hey, something went under contract, it might take 2 weeks for it to get to the PSA. There's a chance it might not have gone to PSA.
right.
So you just need to be intentional. If you're really interested in the property, there's nothing wrong with calling the broker and saying, hey, just checking in. Did that thing progress? and I've done that before, and they're like, well, actually, that it might be back on the table here. I'll let you know. And so that goes back to that relationship building and being in front of people. And for some people, that's difficult.
Right.
Putting yourselves out there. Any thoughts on that?
I'll give you a perfect example of why you should do that. I talked to a buyer yesterday who is out of Michigan. They were looking at a property in Johnson City. And I told him we were looking to go to contract. And he said, well, that's funny. That's how I just won the deal that we closed on last week. It was like a 100 unit in Michigan. He said they were working on the PSA. He said something happened with the buyer. They found another property and they dropped it. And because I had been following up with that broker and showing how interested I was, and rather than it going back on the market, they called me. I said, yes. He said, we got the deal done and closed in 90 days. And he was telling me that to qualify himself as a prospective buyer for the property he was looking at in Johnson City. But it goes back to what you were just saying, following up, even though there's an accepted LOI, even if it's under contract, keep following up, because there's always a chance that could fall apart for various reasons unrelated to the property itself.
Yeah, because this is a fairly small circle of people operating. I always thought it was like, oh man, everybody is in real estate, and then I don't really feel it's that way, because you'll fly across country and go to the conference, and you'll see somebody that you saw at a conference in another region of the United States, 3 months ago. So it goes back to that relationship building, being available, being intentional, and being prepared. Let's talk about that, prepared checklist that somebody new might want to have. Let's name off some of them. Personal financial statement should be in hand, ready to go. An updated scheduled real estate owned. Maybe a credibility book. And for those that don't know what a credibility book is, it's kind of a personal and business resume of what you've done in multifamily, and certainly include other business experience, because a lot of that knowledge is transferable. So because you haven't necessarily transacted does not mean that you don't still have a lot of the knowledge from some other aspect of your career so far.
Right. And having that package put together, even if you've never bought a property before, just going to that extra, putting in that extra effort, giving us references. So whether that reference is, so you had closed the deal, putting that seller's reference or the broker's reference that was the selling agent on that property. Or if you haven't, just putting a local investor that you think we may know on there as a reference. That helps us connect dots, because like you said, it does seem like everyone's in real estate, but when you really get into it, it's a small world. So putting references, I think references are key, and we use references. We rely on them a lot when if we have multiple offers on a property, having references to call and to ask past sellers, did this buyer do what they said they would do? That carries a lot of weight to us when trying to decide between different offers on a property. So I know that's different than sending a credibility package. But I think I rely a lot on references because a lot of the times their references will be brutally honest, which is what brokers are looking for.
That's huge. And I've actually not heard of that, to be totally honest with you.
Yeah. On a deal in Nashville, we had multiple offers, and all of these guys seemed great buyers, almost the same price, same earnest money, quick closing. And, we were representing the seller, and the seller said, how do I pick between these guys, which is a great problem to have as a seller. And so we asked for references, and some of the references on some of the different buyers that they gave us caused concern. And then there was one particular buyer, they provided 10 references from across the country. We called every one of them, and most of the references answered and called back and said, yeah, these guys did exactly what they said they would do. They asked for no extensions. They were great to work with. So, and that's who we ultimately picked, and they did exactly what they said they would do from the start of their LOI. And that leads me to another point. In your LOI, if you send one, make sure that it is something that you can actually follow through with. Don't put terms in an LOI and that you're unsure about just to try to win the property, because then that will cause many problems from the seller's point of view and the broker's point of view.
Have you guys experienced, I'm sure you have at some point, how do you deal with these types of buyers? Do they get reputations for putting in a full price offer, or even over on an LOI, getting into due diligence and then trying to retrade right off the bat, and then that becomes their reputation? Have you dealt with those type of buyers, and how do you, I guess, get around that or recommend to them, hey, this is not going to bode you well down the road. You're going to get a reputation. Is that something you've had to deal with?
We've actually represented a buyer that has tried that before, and we caution them in that, hey, this is not going to get us anywhere, and it ultimately didn't. So all we can do is caution against that, and then as representing the buyer, we caution our buyers like, this is probably not going to get you anywhere. But at the end of the day, we work for them, so you can certainly try and ask for anything, but you risk losing out on a deal when doing that. And then as far as representing the seller, a lot of it really goes into the due diligence period as to, before even signing a contract. As representing sellers, we really try to make sure that the buyers have done a lot of their due diligence up front. And that kind of helps hedge against retrades, making sure people have done their homework.
So in this environment, when things are selling close to top dollar, deals are hard to find, financing can be tough with agency debt because of COVID requirements, BITI, reserves, the whole 9 yards. What would you say to a seller that is demanding hard money at a certain particular point in time and not allowing a financing contingency? What would you say to that seller?
It would depend on the market. If you're sitting in Nashville with a 50-unit Class B property right outside of Brentwood, then I think you could ask for hard money. I think you could do a call for offers. I think you could demand no financing contingency. If you are sitting in Granger County, Tennessee with a 20-unit Class C, you're not going to be able to ask for hard money on day one. So it really depends on the market and the asset itself. A lot 50-unit plus properties right now. That's kind of a sweet spot that a lot of buyers from across the country are looking for here in Knoxville. So I would say if we were bringing an 80-unit Class B slight value add deal here in Knoxville, I think we would have enough interest to ask for hard money on day one, and demand no financing contingency. So it's really dependent on the property itself, what state it's in, and what state the property is in, and what city. This geographic location is a huge part.
Yeah, that's a tough one, because when COVID hit, an extremely hot market kind of did retract a little bit, and there was a lot of uncertainty in lending and COVID holdbacks. And it seemed things softened a little bit. I didn't see necessarily prices go down that much, but it seemed like sellers were a little more flexible on the contingency side of going under contract, because it was pretty well understood that there was a lot of unknowns at that point, and that it was, if you're an advocate for the deal, why would you unnecessarily put somebody at risk just to be a hard nose, I guess. I don't know, but
Right.
yeah, it can be pretty fluid depending upon where you're going. And and we're have been on both sides of needing a broker, far less on the sell side. So I kind of have a new respect for you guys after going full cycle, really only once, and now trying to go full cycle again. You do play a very good intermediary role between what can be sometimes contentious negotiations depending upon how things go. So, and you guys hold the deals though, too. Yeah, for that matter. It's a lot. You've got the network, the knowledge, and the resources to go chase down these sellers, and that's just how most deals are done now.
Right.
Overwhelmingly are through brokers. Maybe we could switch gears a little bit to just kind of like business practices type stuff. You guys are incredibly busy. You're trying to chase down deals. You're having to negotiate potentially with multiple interested parties on any deal that you have on the market. What kind of systems or personal hacks do you use to try and keep the day manageable, besides going to Alabama and just checking out completely? I think he's still trying to figure out his Wi-Fi.
I think he is too. I'm surprised he's just not left for the beach yet.
You heard that now.
I apologize. So I forgot. I mean, honestly, Greg, to answer that question right now, it's almost chaos. Our daily lives in real estate, as you guys know, is just chaos. Going 100 different directions, but we try to, Cole and I both try to, we take pride in trying to be great communicators, whether that's just through text, email, whatever that may be. And whether we have a lot to say or not, we know that it's big to communicate with our buyers and our sellers. Whether we have, we may not, if it's about a closing date, we don't know yet, but we're still going to maintain that communication between them. Every buyer, every seller wants to feel like they're at the top of your list, and we try to do our best to make everyone feel that way. So communication is key. As far as a system, we don't really have much of a system right now, other than just in the mornings and the evenings trying to follow up with everyone that we've missed throughout the day when we're out in the field. So communication is what we really try to be very big on. And then also with other brokers, one thing that we've seen, when the other brokers reach out to us and are wanting information about our listings, we try to get that to them as quickly as possible. We would love to sell a deal ourselves as a broker, as any broker would, but at the same point, we have to get all of that information out there for our sellers as much as possible. So we try to respond to brokers as quickly as possible as well and get them what they need for their buyers.
Yeah, I would say as far as a system goes, I mean, I try to make a daily checklist of things I need to do and try to knock those out in the mornings, because by the end of the day, your inbox is full. You've got several texts, and in this business, what I love about it is you never know where your day is going to go. It's unpredictable. But yeah, and as Kevin mentioned, when we get inquiries about properties, our goal is to reply in less than 12 hours and to get information out, because if we're representing the seller, that's best for the seller. And if we're representing a buyer, we're trying to get information that buyer needs immediately from the selling agent. So it kind of works both ways as far as communication goes.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing what you can do with just a simple list, and in a few minutes, either in the morning or in the evening, to do a brain dump and just prioritize and knock out the have tos. And then, yeah, sometimes you just have to be available to the day. I mean, we just closed a deal, whatever it was, Thursday and Friday, and I just resigned those 2 days to being available at my laptop to and phone for emails and texts just to get the thing closed, because you're just inundated with legal and sign this, look at this, approve this, red line that, and you're like, I'm not going anywhere.
Right.
Hey, I want to touch on something real quick, and then we're probably getting close to wrapping up. We know Kevin's been in the business for 20 plus years, but I want to ask you specifically, Cole, as a young person who is incredibly mature for being 22, at what point in the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, maybe even earlier, did you decide, hey, I'm going to be a commercial broker, and here's the reasons why, and here is how I'm going to make that happen? Please walk us through that.
Yeah, and by the way, stupid jokes about your age is just something middle-aged men do to younger people. So yeah, kudos to you. I wish I was doing what you're doing at your age compared to what I was doing when I
didn't like it, we would make fun of him. Anyway.
Yeah, so appreciate you taking that.
If you guys could only hear all of the jokes that go back and forth in our office about his young age and my old age, him calling me grandpa, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and he'll be retired at 30.
I took the internship with Wood Properties really because I thought I wanted to get into development. And Wood Properties is a local company that's been around for 40 plus years, done major developments throughout Knoxville. I had seen George Brown, our broker's name, on many buildings downtown. And I thought, this would be a cool internship. And so I took the internship, and Wood Properties become SVN Wood Properties, which SVN, our national brand, there's over 200 different offices across the country and the globe, one of the largest commercial brokerage firms in the country. So SVN joined with Wood Properties, and through that, I really got to see the dynamic world of commercial brokerage on a local level and national level. And so I went from wanting to do development to really being interested in commercial brokerage. And I started working on a multifamily deal in Nashville and just fell in love with the process of brokering a deal. University of Tennessee, love UT, but they did not teach me how to be a commercial broker. It's just, you just got to learn by doing it. And as a young person in the business, the average age of a commercial real estate broker, I believe, is 56. So you just have to you have to admit what you don't know and then go learn what you don't know. And I'm still doing that today. I've only been in this business for a year. A lot of people my age, the people I know that are my age in this business, we kind of joke, fake it until you make it. But you just got to admit what you don't know, and you've got to try to learn something new every day. And I am still doing that. Still feel like I don't know what I'm doing, but that's the fun in this business, is that there's no cap on what you can learn in real estate.
What's your actual degree in?
Finance.
Okay, so that kind of flows on. And would you say that, I know the answer to the question, but I'll ask you anyway. You're still looking to, I would say George and Kevin are two of your mentors, coaches, what have you, and maybe some others out there that have helped you along the way, and you're continuing to learn. And like you say, what you don't know, what you don't know.
Right.
I'm just going to toot your horn for you a little bit. Your communication skills as a 22-year-old person in this world are impeccable and advanced beyond most people your age, most 40-year-olds. So that's probably, a contribution from your parents or the way you're raised, maybe a little bit of both, but also I'm sure this mentoring thing has been, I just want to say, congrats. And I can't wait to see where you're at when you're 30.
Well, thank you.
Get into this business at any age, and they don't know how much work is involved. And when they do realize, some people just quit. So, right. Like Greg said, there's no days off. And that's what differentiates a broker from others. That's what differentiates differentiates investors like Greg and ourselves from others. And it's a long game. And that's what people fail to realize. I'm sure you have realized that as well.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And a lot of people my age, I feel like don't get into brokerage, whether residential or commercial, because of the commission-based income and being scared of not knowing when that next paycheck is coming. But if you put in the work every day, and to me, that motivates me. Not knowing, that's motivation. But if you put in the work, then put in the work and the time to learn, then the checks will follow. That's my biggest advice. When people my age ask me what I do, and the first question is, oh, is that commission based? And it's always in a negative sense, but to me, that's motivation. And that's what keeps us going every day, and motivates us to get deals done and try to be the best brokers for our clients possible.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah, I want to piggyback off of some things you said, Darren, just to kind of give Cohl praise as well. You know, I don't know if you guys knew this, but last week he was presented an award, Rising Star, from our board of realtors in Knoxville, which it's a pretty big deal. It's something that a lot of the agents that are just getting into the business put in for. You have to have, referral references from past clients. There's a lot of things that go into it, and Cohl was rewarded with that last week. So I just want to, give him a maturity level for his age. I agree 100%. And when we joined back in September, we had worked a couple of other deals together, and I went to George, our broker, and I was like, I think Cohl and I should team up on this stuff and just tackle it together, man. And I know he's got a great future ahead of him.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that as well.
Well, there you go. And then there's another
Congrats.
thing about partnerships there that we didn't even touch on, but
Yeah.
you can accomplish more as a small group than you can individually. As I think in most circumstances, except maybe playing singles tennis. But
Right.
I think that's a good point to drop it. Do you guys want to, on the closing here, please, again, say where you are, your brokerage, the market you operate in, and your contact info. If somebody wants to reach out to you, is interested in, and correct me if I'm wrong, mostly middle and eastern Tennessee, how do we get a hold of Cohl and Kevin?
Again, Cohl Morgan at SB and Wood Properties. I'll give you my cell number. It's 865-603-9887. Feel free to call anytime. We do anything from a duplex to 250 unit apartment complex. So we'd love to work with you.
Awesome.
Yeah, same here, Kevin Tipton with SB and Wood Properties. My phone number is 865-210-0228. And Cohl said that we only go up to 250 units. I don't agree with that. We'll go up to 1,000 units, even more.
Yeah, and I mean,
Go
that's, no, I was just going to say, that's definitely, it's interesting about you guys is that you do run a wide range on the multifamily side. You're not, you're not niching into just Class A type stuff or anything like that. So,
right, and it goes back to, as far as the smaller stuff, it goes back to what I mentioned earlier about the relationships. I've been doing this for a long time. I've done a lot of the smaller deals, and that's what built my business. That's what brought me to this point. But you know what? The guy that's starting to buy the duplexes tomorrow, 2 years from now, he may be looking for that 100-unit project. So it goes a long way.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, I'll take us out, Darren. Thank you all for joining us on the Real Wealth Solutions podcast. I want to thank Cohl and Kevin for their insight
Thank
on
you for having us.
the broker side of this. And, if you're new yourself, or you know somebody just getting started, you think they might benefit from hearing some of their insight on some best practices, starting your broker relationships. We would certainly appreciate you sharing this episode with them. Until then, we will see you all on the next episode.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Yes, thank you guys. We really appreciate you guys having us.
Kevin, have a good time down there.
He's already on the beach.
He's already on the beach. All right. See you later.